Hey guys, how we doing? Welcome to our final lesson of this Key Stage 3 course. Our foundations course has been running for 12 weeks, and this is obviously the final week of the course. Um, Gutted, obviously, to have to finish it, but also really excited about what is the next step for all of us. So, welcome to you all. Really nice to have you here. I can see lots of people trickling in. Really nice to see you. Hi Mayori, hi Taran, hi V Kumar, hi Arav Grover, hi Crazy Cat. All familiar names there. Glad to see people are coming back week on week for our final session. But if we stay tuned, obviously to the end, I'm going to talk about how we can carry on learning together, how you can carry on with my Headspace, whether it's with me, whether it's with other teachers of other subjects, whether it's for the summer schools, whether it's for the main courses next year, whatever it's going to be. I would really love it if lots of you could carry on learning with my Headspace. So that's something we can look forward to. A couple more people trickling in. Hi Lashan, hi Rohan, hi Sarah, hi Sahasra. Really nice to have you all in this evening for this final session of Classics Declassified. So just a reminder of what that means while people are still making their way in. When we say classics, I totally didn't mean to skip on to the next slide there. When we say classics, we're talking about um, basically what you must read. And that's what people say. If you wanna sound really smart and if you want to sound really educated, then you need to read the classics. And they always mention people like Shakespeare, like Dickens, like Geoffrey Chaucer. But the problem is, loads of these texts are classified, right? Meaning that they are inaccessible, which basically means that they're really difficult to get to grips with. So when people say that these are classics and you have to read them, but they're also inaccessible, it's essentially a way of saying you can't be part of this, mate. You can't be part of this exciting world of literature. You have to sort of go and sit in the corner over there because you don't understand, because you're not clever enough. And that's what people will say. And what I would really like us to be doing with these little sessions where we just briefly dip into these authors and their work is to declassify it, to make it for everyone, right? We want to make it accessible for everyone. I want everyone here to be able to talk about Shakespeare. I want everyone here to be able to talk about Dickens. I want everybody here to be able to talk about Chaucer. And that's why we've done these 3 lessons to finish off the course. So a couple more people have arrived. Lashan, that's awesome to hear. You're doing summer school and carrying on next year. That's really great to hear. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. Hi Lana, good to have you. Hi you. Hi Ifa. Lana, the summer school. When do lessons start again after summer school? They're going to be starting on the 9th of September, so the second week of September. That's when the main courses will begin. Hi Stanridge. So really awesome to have you here. Let's crack on with this final lesson, shall we? So this is our purpose, to engage with so-called classic literature, in today's case Chaucer, so that it is digestible and easy to understand. That is our purpose today. We're not going to do the introduction to me. It would be a little bit silly to have this introduction to me in our final lesson of the 12 weeks. Hopefully we know me by now. So there is our big opening question. What do we already know? Excuse me. What do we already know about Geoffrey Chaucer? And those numbers up there, they are not timings. It's not 1:40 to 2 p.m. Those are the years that this guy was alive. He was born in the year 1340 and he died in the year 1400. So for those of you who have heard anything about Chaucer, share it in the chat now. It wouldn't surprise me, by the way, if there was nothing that came up. So don't feel embarrassed if you just type nothing. That's an absolutely fine place to start. That's where most people start when it comes to Chaucer. That's pretty much how I started before I got to university. So nothing to worry about. So a couple of you saying nothing. Lashan, Taran, nothing. Adem, he lived for 100 years. Uh, Check the maths, my guy. Anyone know anything about Chaucer? Some of you pointing out he was only 60 when he died. Yeah, what's kind of crazy is that back in the 14th century when he was alive, to be able to get all the way up to 60 is actually really, really good. Nowadays, people are living into their 80s on average in this country. But back then, to get to 60 was actually quite old. So it sounds quite young to us, but it was quite old. Karina, he was an author. Correct. Well done. Maori, he has been called the father of English literature. He has indeed. He absolutely has. And there's a good reason for that, which we'll explore today. Chirag, is he an author of a book? Yes, he wrote quite a few books. Yeah. The father of English father of English, it says in the title. Nice. Sir, are you a gamer? No, I'm not a gamer. I've just got a gamer chair because it's comfy. I don't want to get a bad back sitting in a painful chair all day. Ifa is trying to teach me something. Did I know that the Canterbury Tales are still incomplete? Nice. So the Canterbury Tales that Chaucer wrote, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago, it was never finished. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I did know that, but keep on throwing the facts at me and let's see if there's something you can teach me. That'd be great. Sorry I'm late. No worries, Josh. Welcome, welcome. He was the first writer to be in what is known as Poets' Corner in Westminster Abbey. Nice one, Stanridge. Yeah, absolutely. So he was widely celebrated for his contributions to the world. Let's have a look at why. Here's a few little details from history over there to give you some clues about why Chaucer was so important. And Karina, you're right, he was a poet specifically. He didn't write in prose, which is like novels, and he didn't write drama, which is like plays. He wrote poems, but he wrote really, really long poems that go on for hundreds and hundreds of pages. He died poor. Interesting, Maori. Interesting. What type of genre did he write? That's part of what's important about him, Shara. Good question. So these things are something I would really like you to consider. Also, Ifra has just made a really nice point about A Knight's Tale with that film with Heath Ledger in it, based quite loosely on A Knight's Tale from Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. Yeah, good. So, first question then. Something happened in 1066 and lasted for about 300 years. Who can tell me what that thing was? And let's explore why it was important. Yes, welcome Reese, modding today. Thank you so much, my good man. Who can tell me something that happened in 1066 which had an influence for about 300 years, if not more? What happened? Welcome, Gunnar. Well done, Lashan. It was something that was going on during some of his lifetime or leading up to his lifetime. The feudal system, nice. That was definitely going on around the Middle Ages. The plague. What years were the plague? Certainly weren't 300 years. Battle of Hastings, someone has said. Nice one, Maori. What did the Battle of Hastings mean? Because you're absolutely right. The Battle of Hastings happened in 1066, right? So, Battle... Sorry about my handwriting. Of Hastings. Yeah. And what was that part of, and what did it mean? Yeah, well done, Vikuman. What happened? What was the 1066 battle all about? Some of you have mentioned it was the Battle of Hastings. Yes, but what was that about? Nice one, you. Norman rule. Norman rule. Okay, so what we call the Norman conquest basically meant that we got taken over, right? We got taken over. We English got taken over by the Normans. And what language did they speak in Normandy? What language did they speak, and what language, therefore, did we have to speak in this country for the next 300 or so years. You're absolutely right, H. Khan. It was to take over the throne, and they did, which meant that we had Norman rule in our country. And Adam, you're absolutely right. It meant that the official language was French. French became, or well, specifically Old French, doesn't look much like modern French, became our official language. Official language. And that was a really significant thing that went on. Yeah, well done, you guys. Some of you are saying Latin. That comes up in a minute. That's a little clue for the second one. So the next clue, well done, you guys, for getting that one. We were all speaking Old French, but the churches and the educated people in society insisted on using something very specific in their content. Who can tell me what that one is? So moving on to that second question, what was the church, i.e. the religious people in this country, what were they doing? And what did they insist that anyone who was educated have to do or had to write in? So Adem is saying Latin. What do you mean by Latin? Were they speaking Latin? Were they writing Latin? Why was it only the educated people? Okay, loads of you saying Latin. So I'm going to put Latin in here for now. But where was Latin? Were people walking around speaking Latin, do you think? Well done, it was the Roman Catholic Church, which is why it was Latin. Very nice one. Yeah, really good point, Mahan 3. Writing, yeah, good. So it was about writing. So Latin, basically all writing was in Latin, and all schooling. Which basically meant that if you were able to afford to go to school, and if you were educated enough to be able to study the Bible, then you would be working in Latin. So the official language of the country was Old French, and in books, the books that were actually published, which weren't many, were all in Latin. What were the men on the street speaking? What was the vernacular? What was the vernacular? Somebody tell me what they think the vernacular might have been. You guys coming up with some really wicked answers, by the way. Yes, thank you for that. Maori, interesting thought. English equals Latin plus French. English was heavily influenced by both of those languages because of what we just talked about. Yes, absolutely. But it also had its foundation in what was called Anglo-Saxon Old English, yeah? People who only went to school and priests learn Latin. Good. Nice. Someone has said slang, which is what we use for vernacular these days. Yeah, it was basically English. Okay? So it was an early form. It was an early form of English, and there was a really negative attitude towards it. It was for commoners. Okay, so people who could speak French and people who could speak and write in Latin, they looked down on the people, like the everyday person on the street who couldn't afford to go to school, who wasn't being brought up by the clergy, the people in the church, and instead they spoke what was basically English. It was a development of Anglo-Saxon, and Hanap has just said bottle of water. Yeah, kind of. It was definitely the kind of the common language, and it was looked down upon by those in power. And so Britain's only really bothered publishing specific kinds of books, and it was mostly the Bible, right? Over and over and over again, which of course was in Latin. Okay? And the poetry that did get published was basically focused on, right, heroes and, you know, knights, battles, all of the kind of the epic stuff, and on the cross, the Christian cross. There were loads of poems that were just written about the Christian cross, which they called the rude, spelled like that. Okay, so if we take all of this information together, okay, take all of this information together and bear in mind that Chaucer as an important person. Chaucer wrote poetry in the vernacular. Why is that important? Well, essentially, Chaucer said, I don't think it's fair. Chaucer said, I don't think it's fair that everyone in power, everyone with the money, with the education, with the influence over other people, they're speaking French and Latin. Whereas all of my friends, everyone that I spend time with, all of these people on the street, they're speaking a completely different language and nobody writes in it. And he decided, right, I'm going to start writing in the vernacular. I'm going to start writing in this version of early modern English. And I'm going to ignore the fact that everyone's writing in Latin and speaking in French. I'm going to put it in this language because this language is important to me as a common person on the streets, and I think it should be represented. And so he started writing about normal people doing normal things in the familiar language that they had. He was essentially saying, you know what, powerful people, I'm not going to follow your lead. Okay? So, taking these ideas, can somebody post into the chat, try and use as many of these terms as possible? Why is it that Chaucer was so significant, right? Why was he so important? What did he do to literature? What did he do to our language, right? Why was Chaucer important? Why do people still say 700 years on, oh, you've got to read Chaucer, you've got to know about Chaucer? Why is that the case? We did it a couple of lessons ago about Shakespeare 400 years ago. We talked last lesson about Dickens 200 years ago. Going way, way back 700 years ago, why should we still care about Chaucer? What did he do for us? And why does it matter? Try and use as many of those key terms as possible, those key terms in yellow as possible. Yeah? Let's see. Gunnar, he wrote in vernacular. Absolutely. Why does that matter? What did it do to literature? What did it do to the language? Nice one, Taran. The impact he had on rich and poor. He told the rich, I'm not going to write and speak like you. And he told the poor, your voice matters. The way that you speak matters. Your existence matters. You are not somebody who can just be forgotten about because you're not powerful. Gunnar has said he wrote in a language no one really wrote about. Absolutely. So he changed the face of what written language looked like. Shibu, yeah, really nice point. He wrote in the vernacular, meaning common public could be educated on matters. Yeah, so he communicated to the common public. Love it. Ifa said Chaucer was important because he benefited the poor by writing the vernacular. 100%. It was very much a political move what he did. Adem, he wrote in vernacular and abandoned Old French and gave a sense of realism to the poor. Perfect. Nice use of a number of those key terms. Sarah said, because of English, the national language in the UK, people speak it in other countries as well. Yeah, so Sarah, looking at the common, looking at English today, it wouldn't be what it was if it weren't for people like Chaucer writing in that language and giving it publicity. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Sarah. Now it is a global language, isn't it? Karina, I love the way you phrase this. He kind of broke the language border between the rich and the poor. Yeah, really, really nicely expressed. Breaking that border, that barrier. That was really nice. Gunnar, he revolutionized English language. Yeah, check that there's an R on the front. Revolutionized. Yeah, he made it brand new. One thing that I didn't mention when we were talking a minute ago was this idea here of the oral tradition, right? The oral tradition was basically, before we started writing things down centuries and centuries ago, we shared stories with each other and lessons with each other purely through speech, right? We just talked to one another. We told stories around fires. We shared poems around fires, right? And for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years before we even invented writing, we were talking. It was called the oral tradition. And what Chaucer did is he decided he wanted to continue that. He didn't want to lose the oral tradition of the common people speaking when people started writing things down, because obviously everyone was speaking, everyone was writing down things in Old French and Latin. They weren't writing things down, preserving the oral tradition of the normal people. And that's again a reason he was so very important. Stanridge holds a significant place in literary history. His literature was immeasurable. I like that, immeasurable. We can't put a number on just how important he was. H. Khan mentioning the Battle of Hastings and how that led to Old French and Latin becoming the official languages. Educated people spoke French and Latin. Nobody spoke the vernacular. Well, nobody wrote in the vernacular. Loads of people spoke it, but yeah, absolutely. Yeah, beautiful stuff, guys. He decided to write in the vernacular as nobody but the people in the street spoke it, and he wanted to express it. Beautiful. Turan, yeah, stories passed down from memory without writing it down. Yes, that is the oral tradition. And Chaucer decided to preserve it by going, we're writing things down now, but I don't want people to forget the things that we used to say to each other. Okay, so he was super important. But what did he write? What did he write? You guys might not be quite so fond of Chaucer when you hear how his language actually sounded, because this is kind of 700 years ago, so we can't expect to understand everything that's written down. So I'm going to read it to you, then we're going to have a look at a translation. But to begin with, I just want you to take yourself back 700 years. Have you done that? Cool. Take yourself back 700 years. Imagine that you are reading this poem and it is in your own familiar language and it's finally being expressed. Okay, so I'm going to read it to you and be prepared for an exciting experience of the world. Okay, so this is an extract from a story about a knight. Okay, as in Knight. A story about a knight who wanted to meet an elven queen, right? And a giant says, "You can't come here." And the knight says, right, I'm going to go home and I'm going to prepare for battle against you so I can meet my elven queen, right? That's basically what was going on here. But let's have a listen to the way that it was written back then. Sora topaz waxa duchty swain. Wheat was his face as pine the main. His lip as redder as rosa. His rhoda is like scarlet in grain. And I you tell her in good certain he had a seemly nose. His hair, his beard was like saffron, that to his girdle rochte dadun, his shoon of cordawain. A bruges were his hosen brun, his robe was of cyclatoon, that cost a many a chain. He did next his way to leere, of cloth of like a fine and clear, a breech and eke a shirte, and next his shirte in actoon, and over that an harbour goon, for piercing of his heart. And o'er that a fine hauberk was all he wrought of Jewish work. Full throng it was of plata, and over that his coat of armour, as white as is a lily flower, in which he would debate. His shield was all of gold so red, and therein was a boar as head, a charbocel beside. And there he swore on ale and bread, how the giant shall be dead. Betide what betide. His jambocks were of corabrilly, his sword is sheath of ivory, his helm of latoon breichte, his saddle was of rowel boon, his bridle was the sun shone, or as the moon liked. His spear was of fine cypress, that bodeth were and nothing peace. The heedful sharp he gronde. His good steed all he bestrode, and forth upon his way he glued, as sparkle out on the bronde, upon his crest he bar a tour, A therein strikt a lily flower, God shielde his course froshonda. Right? Wild. Okay, so um, I'm just gonna say it should sound, as Anup just said, like another language. The accent that I'm reading this in is essentially an East Midlands accent from 700 years ago. There are kind of twangs of different accents that we might recognize. Particularly, people are saying Scottish. There's a lot of kind of language was preserved in Scotland because of the difficulty of getting there, so lots of things stayed the same. But that way that I'm reading is how this poem would have been read at the time. What I'd like you to kind of challenge yourselves to do is to find any lines, or indeed maybe the odd word that you can find that you think sounds like a modern English word, and share it with me in the chat. Let's see if we can try and pick out what's going on from the middle. Before I show you the translation, I think it's going to be, I think it would be fun. Well, it'd be fun for me, for you guys to try and pick apart what you think might actually be going on from the words that still look the same. So when you're studying modern foreign languages, you'll look at cognates, right? Words that look similar to English words. Let's see if we can figure out any of the words or lines that are coming up here. So please share with me in the chat words that you think sound the same as English words. And when you write them down, please tell me what word it is and what you think it sounds like a modern English version of. Okay, let's have both of those things. Okay, so someone's pointed out his lips red as rose, right? Lips, red. Forgive my handwriting, but yeah, it's got some nice juicy lips, this knight, hasn't he? Not like those though. Nice. Some people are saying Tasnim. I love that one. In which he will debate, right? Let's find that one. In which he will. Okay, so he's going to be debating someone, having an argument with someone. Some of you are saying ale and bread. Well, it's the same as ale and bread. And he swore on ale and bread, right? So it seems like a strange thing to be swearing on. People identifying lily flower. Let's find it. Where's it gone? You're absolutely right, guys. The lily flower, if I can find it. Lily flower, yeah, okay. It's like a lily. Ivory, people picking out ivory. Sounds like ivory. Nice. Shield, someone is saying. Someone pointed out his shield. Shield. Good. Interesting. Some of these translations here. Oh, and lily flower as well. Someone's pointed out it comes up twice. Yeah. Thank you, Araf. Yeah. Moonlight moon. Yeah, nice. If I can find it. Heed head, shirt, Cyrus, sir. Nice. Clear. Good. Nice. Girdle. What about this one? His hair, his beard. Yeah. So his hair, his beard was like saffron, right? We know the spice? Saffron. Someone's saying boar. Boar as in like boar like a pig. So boar's head. Nice. People spotting shirt. Yeah, good. Love it. Yeah, well done, guys. Yeah, I agree. Saffron isn't spicy, but we call it a spice. Maybe we should call it a herb. Um, cool. Okay, so you guys are picking out some awesome little translations. So if we go past that, we've got so topaz was something. White was his face, so his face was as white as something. He had red lips. Um, his hair and beard were like saffron. Yeah. They talks a lot about his clothes. It says his shirt twice. Um, then talks about his armor being as white as a lily flower, and then he puts an actual lily flower in. His shield has got a boar's head on it. What do we think of this one here? The giant shall be dead. What do you think that might mean? Might it be that the giant is dead? What? So he's planning to kill the giant. Coat of armor, someone spotted. Coat of armor. People saying spear, nice one. Spear. People have already said this about moon. Maybe the sun shone. Sun shone. Right? You guys are doing amazing. Yeah, the giant shall be dead. Now, what I just want you to think about for a moment that should potentially kind of surprise you is that a few kind of decades ago, before we had books published on Chaucer, before the internet was invented, right? People would read this Chaucer stuff and they would have to do what you guys are doing now, but they would have to do it with every single word, right? They would have to take apart every single word one at a time, scroll them on the top for their translations, just to pick out what it was that Chaucer was trying to say a long, long time ago. By the way, I'm loving that you guys are still translating bits. Keep it coming. That's awesome. So people had to translate Chaucer from scratch. They would go, yeah, nice. But people would have to just go from scratch and translate this one word at a time. And if they didn't know a word, so let's say, for example, they came across some of these really unfamiliar words, okay, such as Hobergoon, Akatoon, Hauberk, right? What on earth might those ones be? Cyclatone. These are all really unfamiliar words. Cordyboily. Who knows? Latoon. Charbocol. Right? All of these words are going to be really unfamiliar. So what people would have to do is to kind of fill in the gaps. And they would go, well, this shirt, the next thing that he puts on is going to be a shirt. And on top of his shirt, he's going to put a haubergeon for piercing. Oh, we can work that one out. Piercing of his heart. So he's putting something on top to stop his heart getting pierced. Maybe it is some chainmail. Maybe it's some kind of armor. So we might go, okay, well, I think this is chainmail. And then when they read it through, they go, well, let's see if that works. Let's see if that fits. Okay. And then a few hundred years later, people will go, well, actually, I've seen the word haubergeon used in a different context, and it actually meant armor or something like that. Okay. So people had to start with these really, really vague ideas of things that sound like modern English, and then they had to look in other books to find these words in other contexts. They had to kind of piece things together from the context that they were in. So people really, really struggled with these early translations of Chaucer, but nowadays we do have full translations, which I'm going to show you in a moment. Yeah, V. Kumar, well spotted. A lot of his lines also start with his or he. The whole focus of this text is all about focusing on this knight, this exciting knight called Satopas. Yeah, Daniel's saying chabokal like charcoal. You're actually quite close because it is referring to a stone, but not actually charcoal. So you're very close with the rock formation there. Anyway, should we have a look at it in the modern English translation? Let's see. I'm going to read it to you again, and I want you to see if you get a new impression or a different impression of Satopas from this description. Satopas grew up to be a doughty lad. White was his face as fine white bread, his lips red as a rose. His complexion is like scarlet deeply dyed, and I tell you in true certainty he had a seemly nose. His hair, his beard, was like saffron, that to his girdle reached down, so reached down all the way to his girdle, which is like his belt. His shoes of a Cordovan leather, of Bruges were his brown stockings. His robe was of silk woven with gold, that cost many a halfpenny. Okay, so that's our opening description of him. Later on in the story, he's getting ready for battle. And it says, he put on next to his white flesh of linen cloth fine and clear, a pair of trousers and also a shirt, and next to his shirt a quilted jacket, and over that a chainmail shirt. Oh, we got it right, guys. And over that a fine plate of armour, which was all wrought with his jeweller's work. Very strong it was of iron plate, and over that his surcoat, as white as is a lily flower, in which he will dispute. We got that one right as well, well done. His shield was of gold, so red, and on that was a boar's head. Yeah, we got that one as well. Beside a carbuncle. Okay, so a carbuncle, it's like a red gem, a bit like a ruby. And there he swore, on ale and bread, how the giant shall be dead. We got that one as well. Whatever may happen. His leg guards. So maybe those of you who know French, jambes, might have gone leg guards, were of hardened leather. His sword's sheath of ivory, his helm of bright brass, his saddle was of ivory, his bridle shone like the sun, or like the moonlight. His spear was of fine cypress, that foretells war and nothing of peace. The head ground very sharp. A few lines later, he gets onto his horse, right? His good steed he mounted, and forth upon his way he glided, like a spark out of the burning log, and upon the top of his helmet he bore a tower, and in that he stuck a lily flower. God protect his body from shame. Okay, so a couple of people have asked questions. So before we reflect on that, I will ask those questions. We'll answer those questions. Why were they so persistent on reading Chaucer? Good question, Sarah. It's because they had received them. So over the years, they had received the message. Loads of people talking and writing about Chaucer, right? People wrote and talk about Chaucer for the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years that followed. Okay, so people knew that he was important. They knew that his work was good, and that's why people went, okay, maybe we should translate this. Maybe we should bother to translate this to see what it was that he was writing about and what was so good about it. So good question. Am I going on holiday? Yes, yeah, in early August. Now, what I want you to reflect on, you guys, I said earlier on that all poetry that got published was about epic stories, and Chaucer was more interested in writing about the common man. But in this story, he's writing about a knight, but we know that he thinks all of that stuff is a bit silly and over the top. He cares more about the normal people. So why would he write about a knight? And does anyone think that he's actually kind of taking the mickey out of this knight? Is he actually insulting this knight in any way? Who'd like to have a go at fielding that question? What do you think is going on? Because I told you earlier, everyone wrote about knights and epic battles. He thought that was over the top and wanted to write about more normal stuff. How is it then that he ends up writing about a knight? What is he doing instead? Has he changed his mind? Does he actually really like these epic stories about chivalry? Or is he doing something else to this knight and to this story? What do you think? What do we think? Anyone got any thoughts on that? Excuse me. He's making fun of the stories, Gunnar. Interesting. Interesting thought. Where do you think he's making fun of knights and their stories? Is he mocking the people who write about knights and heroes? Interesting, Sarah. How is he doing that? Can anyone find me any examples from the extract that we just read that makes it seem like he is taking the mickey out of him? Interesting. Maybe so Mayori is saying maybe he's teasing the knight and how over the top his character is. How? Shirag, like he's describing the knight and making jokes about it. Okay. Where? Find me examples. Adem, trying to downgrade the impression of knights. Absolutely. I think you guys are onto something here. But can we find some examples? Interesting, Gunnar. That's a really good point. He's using the vernacular to write about something more formal, which is already insulting it. I love that. Really great point. So let's see some examples then. Chirag, thank you. Thank you. I think you're onto something. Gives the knight rosy lips, which are kind of girly. Okay. So is he insulting the masculinity of this knight? Let's see if it does that anywhere else. At any point, guys, does it talk about the knight actually battling? At any point, does it talk about him actually being brave? Does it talk at any point about him being victorious? Some of you are pointing out that it calls him lad, so like a child. Yeah, really nice point. He called his head a boar's head. No, actually, there's a boar's head on his shield. Yeah, so the closest it comes, you're absolutely right, Gunnar. The closest it comes to him actually being a man of action is where he says the giant shall be dead. But all the rest of it, what is the rest of this focusing on? Because you're absolutely right to identify that at no point does it talk about him actually battling or taking charge or anything like that. Instead, what is it focusing on? What is this whole extract about instead? Nice one, Sharon. Just about what he's wearing and no real action. So let's just take a second. Let's just take a second to identify all the times where it talks about his clothes, right? So his shoes of a Cordovan leather, his brown stockings from Bruges, his robe was of silk woven with gold, okay? He's wearing fine linen cloth. It talks about a pair of trousers he's wearing and also a shirt and a quilted jacket. And then we've got his surcoat as white as lily flower. And then we also see him putting a flower into his helmet, right? The top of his helmet, putting a little flower into it, okay? So all the way through, we're focusing on his outfit because he is slaying, right? And I mean that in a modern sense. Let's focus on all the times it talks about him being kind of pretty, right? Let's focus on him being pretty. His face as fine white bread. His lips red as rose, his complexion like scarlet deeply dyed. He had a seemly nose, his hair and beard was like saffron that reached all the way down to his girdle. He has white flesh. Okay, so his appearance. So all those bits in red are his appearance. So we focused on his outfit and his appearance. Okay. What actual action is he going to do? Let's just take a quick moment to zoom in on this line. Somebody pointed out a minute ago, I'm sorry I didn't see who it was, but he's going to dispute. Okay. So instead of going to fight, right, or going to battle, or going to kill, or going to challenge, or going to murder, or going to create bloodshed, none of those language features are used. Instead, dispute. If you dispute something, you have an argument about it, right? So he's putting on all of his fancy clothes to go and have an argument. Not to fight, not to win, not to be victorious, just to have an argument, okay? And even when it does focus on his weaponry, right? It just talks about how it looked, right? So it's a chainmail shirt, a fine plate of armor, all wrought with jeweler's work, so covered in jewels. It talks about his shield being of gold, and there being a boar's head decorated on it. There's a red gem on it. And his guards were of a hardened leather, right? Short sheath of ivory, so the colour and appearance of it. Bright brass. His saddle was of ivory. His bridle shone like the sun. His spear from Cyprus. So all the way through, right? Oh, I skipped ahead there. All the way through, it's got. He's got. Where's my pen gone? He's got pretty armor. Okay, so we've seen a bunch of things so far that are all suggesting that he's really not up to much. In fact, when he has his argument, it says he will dispute, and then he swears on ale and bread. Okay, so rather than swearing on the love of his elven queen or anything like that, instead he swears on ale and bread. Okay, so all the way through, right? We care about his appearance, how he's quite pretty. We care about his outfit, how he's going to look really good in it. We care about his pretty armor that's going to make him look really cool going into battle. And all he's going to do is he's going to be arguing and he's going to swear on bread. I would say, in summary, he's a bit of a loser, right? I love that somebody just said he is a little bit like Lord Farquaad. Yeah, Maori, I completely agree with you. He's just like Lord Farquaad. He's all talk, no action. Someone else said, no action, just appearance. Love that, Gunnar. Shirag, you're absolutely right. Defeating the stereotype about knights. Yeah, just taking the mick out of him. Shibu, yes, you're absolutely right. All bark, no bite. Again, no action, all just appearances. You guys are spot on. So what Chaucer was doing in quite a subtle and clever way is he was mocking the kinds of writers who wrote about epic things. Okay, so Chaucer mocked epic poets. Okay, he thought the whole knight stuff was just silly. And so he just took the mick out of it all the way through. And it's quite funny. And if you were to look any more into Chaucer, you would find that all of his really, really long poem, the Canterbury Tales, is funny. It's all mocking. There are stories about, there are stories about farting out of windows. There are stories about characters having secret affairs and exposing people for their wrongdoings. All the way through, he's mocking certain people in society, particularly those who are really high and mighty, and all the way through he is still celebrating the common man instead. Yeah. V. Kumar, good point. Wasn't he mocking knights, not poets? Yeah. So the way that he's written this, he's making it seem really grand and over the top, but nothing's actually happening. So he's mocking the writers who make such big deals out of knights. Yeah. For those of you reacting to farting out of windows, yep, I will say no more. You can look into that if you want to. But yeah, there are some bizarre and hilarious things that go on in his story. So I'd highly recommend checking out some Chaucer, because he was a funny guy. He influenced the language, and he was just great. Anup, this is Chaucer, Geoffrey Chaucer. I've written it at the bottom there in red. Geoffrey Chaucer is the person who wrote this, and yeah, in his poem, The Canterbury Tales, there is a lot of mockery and insults and bums and farting and cheating and people getting their own back on other people. It's just very silly, and it's a lot of banter. Yeah, Vikuma, you're right. Shakespeare also had many insults. You can even go onto a website just called Shakespeare's like insult generator, and it will just give you a list of different insults that came up in his plays. Maori, the father of mimicry. Nice. Okay. Or the father of mockery, perhaps. Shibu, you're absolutely right. He's only insulting the people who have power or influence. He mocks and ridicules them for not doing their duty. Yeah. For these people who just think far too much of themselves, they think they're really special and powerful and looking down on people, and he in turn insults them in his poetry. So yeah, he's a proper man of the people. It's great. You guys, that brings us to the end of the course. So I just want to hear in the chat, just cast your minds back over the last 12 weeks. What have been your favourite parts of this course? What things have you enjoyed most? What learning do you think you're going to take forward into your lessons in future? Just share some of the memories over the past 12 weeks, because we've had 3 months of this now. I really want to hear what you enjoyed, so I can do more of that next time, what we learned, all of that kind of stuff. So I know some of you have got maths to go to, so I want to squeeze in this bit of feedback at the end. I'm also going to give you an opportunity to get a discount on one of the upcoming courses. Tasby really enjoyed the Gothic writing. Love to hear that. Crazy Cat, Isaac Plays, really enjoyed that. Really nice to hear. Chirag enjoyed learning about the news. Gonna love Shakespeare, can't lie. Love that. I'm so pleased to hear it. Kelly Harris, yeah, this is the last lesson full stop, and unless you join one of the other courses. Crazy Cat enjoyed the writing. Yeah, I remember some of your writing. Crazy Cat was wicked. What is that amazing font? I think it is Sign, S-Y-N-E. Love the horrible colours. Vikuma, love those horrible colors. Yes, they were crazy. When we created our own name, Sissy Toot. Yes. When we did the silly names from Dickens. Yeah, awesome. The color palette. People enjoying that there's no maths. Enjoyed Shakespeare too. People enjoying Gothic and horror. Someone really enjoyed this one. That's really nice to hear. Math on 3. The news. Daniel liked the first 2 months. That's cool. You didn't enjoy this this final section on those classic writers as much. Horror versus terror and how we're giving disgusting descriptions. Yeah, that was really fun, wasn't it, Mayuri? I think people will remember for months and months to come those horrible color palettes. Nice. Awesome. Oh, you guys are great. That's really good to hear. So what I'm going to say, because some of you are having to go, it would be awesome if you could leave us a 5-star review on Trustpilot. There's a QR code there for you. There should also be an actual link in the description. So please do get on there. Show me some love. Show your appreciation for the last 12 weeks. It's been awesome to have you here. So yeah, please do leave us a 5-star review. There's a link in the chat. I think it's been pinned, and also this QR code. But there's more than that. There is a special deal for those of you who don't have to go immediately. Are you planning to continue with us next year? Ooh. So we've got a bunch of new courses for September 24-25. Here are some of the teachers who are going to be leading it. We've got 50 plus combined years of teaching between us. There's little me. So we've got a bunch of teachers who are offering all of these subjects. So we've got chemistry, physics, biology, maths, and English. All of those are going to be offered both for the summer schools and for the main courses in September, if you want to get stuck into those. For you, because you have been a part of this course as well, you get 50% off. More than 50% off, in fact. So for the entire next academic year, you can be spending less than £1 a day in order to access a year-long course of MyEdSpace content. Lana, yeah, looking mega smug in that picture of him. Yeah, all those pictures were taken separately and then stitched together, and it seems like everyone else was smiling in theirs, but they picked one of me not smiling. So I just look like, yeah, smug, looking good. So Ultimate Pass 24-25, access to all of the subjects for a year group, personal mentor support, but half the cost. And there's a free summer school included with every purchase. So the summer school is going to be lasting for 4 weeks, so all of August. And you can get that for absolutely free if you join up to one of those main courses, which are selling at half price. So it's an amazing, amazing deal because you guys are amazing and I have loved having you here so much. So all you need to do is you or your parents specifically to message WhatsApp just with the word stay, okay, to unlock this half price offer, okay? To protect you from any risks, there is a 14-day refund guarantee. If you're not enjoying the courses, if you're not learning, you can get all the money back if you do it within those first 2 weeks. So it is a no risk thing. The prices will go up after the first 50 sign-ups, so please jump in fast. And if you have friends who you think would benefit from this, invite them to join. You can claim your referral link and then get £50 for every friend who joins. Okay, so for those of you saying stay in the chat, it needs to go to the WhatsApp, the MyEdSpace WhatsApp instead. Okay, so I know that was really fast. I just wanted to fit everything in because I know some people have to go like at 5 on the dot. Look at me just floating in space, just darkness surrounding me because everything is done with. Sad times, but the summer schools you can join up to separately if you want to. If you just want to join up to the summer schools before you consider the main course, you can join up to the summer schools on the website. As I said, they are 4 weeks, 2 lessons a week. So all of August you can have 2 lessons a week per subject, and it's available for all of those subjects that I mentioned. So it will be with me or with any of the other MyEdSpace teachers for those different subjects. And then beyond that, there's the course that lasts for the entire year from September all the way to July, which you can get for just 350 quid for the whole year, which I think is amazing. And yeah, the offer is for next year, starting in September. So this September all the way through to June. But do check out the summer schools as well. As I said before, please do leave us a review on Trustpilot. That would be amazing. Samai, yes, this was the last lesson, sadly. Am I still going to be teaching you? Yeah, so I will be teaching the summer school, and I will also be teaching on the main courses as well. So if you want more lessons with me, you can come back and join those lessons. They will be running from, obviously, the summer schools all the way through August, and then the main courses from September all the way through to July of next year. Yes. Yes. Okay. So hopefully that answers all your questions. For any of you who missed the code for Trustpilot reviews, it's there. So you can scan the QR code or find it where it's pinned in the chat. And the discount code for getting onto the full course in September to get you more than 50% off is STAY, which you post through WhatsApp to the MyEdSpace team. You guys, thank you so much. These messages that you're sending are absolutely lovely. You guys are wonderful. It's been an absolute joy teaching you for the last 12 weeks. I really hope you've learned some things. I hope that you've enjoyed yourself. Obviously, this is your own evening time that you've given up to come along here and spend an hour with me, coming up with disgusting colours and learning about Geoffrey Chaucer and farting out of windows. So I really hope that it's been worth your time, and I'm really looking forward to seeing a bunch of you in that summer school and the main course. So thank you so much. I will catch you guys very, very soon.